sister was secretly spending my money on entertainment, while I was paying for her studies. When I found about it, I told everyone truth, and now she's going crazy. For as long as I can remember, my younger sister Jessica has always been the golden child in our family. She was the one who could do no wrong, the one with the bright future. So when she announced that she was going back to college after a gap year, my parents were thrilled. The whole family rallied behind her. Mom and Dad kept saying that it was important for Jessica to build a career, and they made it clear that they couldn't afford to pay for her education. Naturally, everyone looked to me, her older brother, to step up. They talked about how I had a steady job and no kids yet, so I could help her get on her feet. I wasn't sure at first, but Jessica played her part perfectly. She said she'd always dreamed of getting her degree and just needed a little help to get started. She promised she'd study hard, work part-time, and make me proud. And you know what? I bought it. I thought I was helping her achieve something worthwhile. For over a year, I paid for her tuition, books, and everything else she said she needed for school. I never questioned it because Jessica seemed so committed. She'd talk about her classes, her professors, and how much work she had to do. She even had this little routine of leaving every morning with her backpack and coming home at night, supposedly from campus. But then, last week, everything fell apart in the most ridiculous way. I came home from work early because I'd left some documents on my desk that I needed. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed a car parked out front that I didn't recognize. I quietly went inside, thinking it was just one of Jessica's friends hanging out. That's when I heard the conversation that turned my stomach. Her friend, a girl I'd never seen before, was laughing out loud and saying, "It's so cool how you milked your brother for all that money. Seriously, why bother going to class when you've got him wrapped around your finger?" Jessica laughed and replied, "Right. He's such a pushover. I tell him I'm studying so hard, but he doesn't even check. He just gives me the money and I do whatever I want. Why waste my time in college when I can have fun instead?" I stood frozen in the hallway, each word hitting me like a brick. My mind was racing. All those months of support, all that money, and she'd been lying all along. When her friend joked about Jessica's loser brother, I felt a wave of anger I can't even describe. But I didn't storm in. I don't know why, I guess I wanted to see how far this would go. Instead, I left the house without either of them noticing. I sat in my car for a while, trying to decide what to do. When I returned that evening, the whole family was there. Jessica acted like nothing had happened, but I knew it was time to come clean. When I walked through the door that night, everyone was gathered in the living room. Mom and Dad were there, Jessica was sprawled out on the couch with her phone, and my wife, Emily, was in the chair scrolling through her tablet. It looked like a normal family night, except I wasn't in the mood to play along. I didn't waste any time. "Jessica," I said loud enough to cut through the chatter, "how's school?" She looked up, surprised, but quickly flashed her usual confident smile. "It's fine. Just busy, you know. I've got a big paper due next week." I nodded slowly. "Interesting. Because I overheard something today that makes me think you're not as busy as you say." Her smile faltered and she glanced at Mom, who was starting to look worried. "What are you talking about?" Jessica asked. I didn't raise my voice, but my words were sharp. "I came home early today and overheard your little heart-to-heart with your girlfriend. Shall I repeat what she said about how you spend my money? Or would you like to explain it yourself?" Her face turned pale. "Wait, what?" she stammered. Mom jumped in. "What's going on? What is he talking about, Jessica?" I didn't give her a chance to weasel out of it. "She didn't go to college," I said, turning to the rest of the family. "She lied to all of us. Instead of paying for tuition and books, she's been using the money to fool around shopping, partying, whatever else she's been doing. And she laughed about it behind our backs." There was complete silence for a moment. Then Mom gasped, "This can't be true. Jessica, tell him it's not true." Jessica immediately began to scramble. "He's misunderstanding something. I don't know what he thinks he heard, but it's not true." I've been going to class every day. Stop lying. I snapped. Your girlfriend literally called me a loser for trusting you. She said you were milking me for money? So are you going to keep denying it, or are you going to come clean? Jessica's excuses poured out at once. It's not like that. I needed the money for other things, and the classes weren't working out, but I didn't want to disappoint anyone. Mom and Dad were still trying to process what had happened. Dad muttered, Jessica, is this true? She looked cornered, but kept trying to spin it. I was going to figure things out eventually. I just needed time. It's not like I wasted all that money. I cut her off. No. We're done with the excuses. I want to know exactly how much you spent and what you spent it on. Now. The tension in the room was unbearable. My wife, Emily, who'd been silent the whole time, finally spoke up. Jessica, you can't talk your way out of this. You have to be honest. Jessica hesitated for a long moment, then finally broke down. Okay, fine. I used some of the money for tuition at first, but I stopped going to class after a while. I couldn't keep up, and it was boring, so I stopped. I used the rest for other things. Dad looked angry. What other things, Jessica? Jessica mumbled something about clothes, concert tickets, and a gaming PC she had hidden in her closet. The whole room exploded. Mom defended her, saying, She's young, she made a mistake, while Dad screamed about responsibility. But I wouldn't let her off the hook. Are you serious? You all begged me to pay for her education, and now you want to sweep this under the rug? She lied to all of us, wasted thousands of dollars, and laughed about it. She needs to face the consequences. Jessica was crying at this point, but I didn't care. I told her to get a job and pay me back every penny. If that means flipping burgers or scrubbing toilets, then so be it. I said. And that gaming equipment you bought? Sell it. You're not keeping a single thing you bought with my money. Mom started to protest, but Emily backed me up. He's right, she said. If you let her get away with this, she'll never learn. She lied, and she has to make it right. Jessica finally broke down and admitted she'd been wrong. Dad, after some argument, sided with me, and even Mom reluctantly agreed. By the end of the night it was settled. Jessica would get a job, sell the junk she bought, and pay me back. The morning after the explosion, Jessica wasn't the cocky, carefree person she'd been the day before. She was quiet, almost avoiding everyone, and frankly, I didn't care. My wife, Emily, and I had already agreed that this was a hill I was willing to die on. Jessica had to make things right. Later that day, Mom called me. I knew it wasn't going to be good. Can't you just let this go? She asked. Jessica made a mistake, but she's your sister. Do you really want her to work a humiliating job to get back at you? She's young, she didn't know any better. She knew exactly what she was doing. I said. She lied to all of us. She laughed about it. I didn't work hard to save this money just so she could blow it on clothes and concert tickets. She's lucky I'm not pressing charges. Mom sighed heavily. I just think you're being too hard on her. What if she gets resentful? She can be mad at me all she wants as long as she learns something from this. I replied. She's not a child anymore, Mom. She's an adult who made a choice. Now she has to deal with the consequences. To his credit, Dad didn't try to argue with me. He'd been quiet since the explosion, but I think he knew I was right. Still, it was clear that Mom was having a hard time accepting it. The next day, Jessica and I sat down to discuss her plan. I told her she had two options: get a job and start paying me back, or I'd take her to small claims court. She reluctantly agreed to get a job. I don't know what to do, she said. Well, since you don't have any experience, you're probably looking at fast food, retail, or something like that, I said. McDonald's is always hiring. Or maybe a cashier job somewhere. She looked horrified. You're kidding, right? No, I said bluntly. You're going to pay me back, aren't you? Jessica grumbled, but didn't argue any further. The job hunt. A few days later, I found out that she'd applied for a few jobs half-heartedly, I'm sure, but she finally got a job at a McDonald's near our house. The first time she came home in her uniform, she looked like she wanted to sink into the floor. Mom, of course, tried to coddle her. "It's not that bad," she said. "Lots of people start out in jobs like this." Jessica gave me a look, but didn't say anything. I think she knew better than to complain at that point. To make sure she didn't slack off, I told her she'd have to give me weekly updates on how much she was making and how much she could pay back. She wasn't thrilled, but she agreed. Selling the junk. The other part of the deal was that she had to sell everything she'd bought with my money. That included the gaming PC she'd been hiding in her closet like some kind of prize. When I reminded her, she tried to argue. "But I already opened it, and it's not worth as much now." "Not my problem," I said. "Sell it, or I'll sell it for you." She ended up listing it online, along with some other stuff she'd bought: designer shoes, handbags, even a concert ticket she hadn't used yet. It didn't cover all the money she owed, but it was a start. Watching her deal with the reality of her situation was oddly satisfying. For the first time, Jessica wasn't getting away with charm or excuses. She was finally being held accountable. 4 months into Jessica's revenge plan, things had settled into a routine. She was still working at McDonald's, reluctantly handing me chunks of her paycheck every few weeks. She'd sold most of the stuff she'd bought, and I could see that the humiliation of her situation was starting to sink in. It wasn't easy for her, and to be honest, it wasn't easy for me either. After all, she was still my sister, and it wasn't fun to see her struggle like this. But every time I started to feel bad, I'd remind myself of how she'd laughed at taking advantage of me. Then, out of nowhere, something happened that completely knocked me off balance. One evening, after a long day at work, I came home to find Jessica sitting on the porch. She looked different, less defiant, more tired. I assumed she had something to complain about, but before I could ask, she stood up and said, "Can we talk?" We went inside and she started pacing the living room. Finally, she blurted out, "There's something I need to tell you. Something I've never told anyone before." My stomach dropped. I had no idea where this was going, but I braced myself. "What is it?" She hesitated, then said, "The money. I didn't just spend it on stupid stuff. Most of it went to someone else." "What do you mean, someone else?" I asked. She looked away, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was with this guy. He said he needed help paying some debts, and I thought I would help him. But he ghosted me as soon as he got what he wanted." I just stared at her, trying to process what she'd said. "You gave my money to some random guy?" "He wasn't random," she said quickly. "I thought we were serious. He said he loved me and that he just needed a little help to get back on his feet. I didn't know he was using me." The anger I'd felt months ago came rushing back. "So let me get this straight, you lied to me, pretended to go to college, and then handed over thousands of dollars to a guy who was using you. Are you kidding me?" "I know it was stupid," she snapped. "I was an idiot, okay? I was desperate, and I didn't want anyone to know I screwed up, so I just kept lying." It was like the rug had been pulled out from under me. I thought I'd been angry before, but this was on a different level. I couldn't believe she'd been so careless, and that she'd kept it a secret for so long. "Who is this guy?" I demanded. "What's his name? Does he still live here?" She shook her head. "I don't know. He blocked me from everything. I tried to track him down, but he just disappeared." For a moment I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to yell at her, but another part of me felt strangely sad. She wasn't just some scheming brat, she'd been manipulated too. "Does Mom know about this?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "And you can't tell her. Please. She'll never forgive me." I sat back and tried to take it all in. Jessica's lies had already blown up our family once, and now this? I didn't know if I should feel sorry for her or be angry. "Jessica, this doesn't change anything," I finally said. You still owe me the money. But you have to be honest with yourself about why this happened. You didn't just screw up, you let someone take advantage of you because you were too scared to ask for help. That's on you. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. For the first time, I could see real regret in her eyes, not just for getting caught, but for everything. And then she said something that took me completely by surprise. I found out where he works, she said. The guy. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but maybe you should know. She hesitated, then said, He's a bartender at some place downtown. I saw a post on Instagram about him working there. I couldn't sleep that night. The idea of confronting this guy, this manipulative jerk who'd taken thousands of my hard-earned dollars, was on my mind. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I didn't tell Jessica or anyone else what I was going to do. That night I drove to the bar she'd mentioned. It was one of those trendy places with overpriced cocktails and dim lighting. I walked in, scanned the room, and sure enough, there he was behind the bar, laughing and chatting with the customers like he didn't have a care in the world. I waited until he wasn't busy, then approached the bar. Are you Jason? I asked. He looked up in surprise. Yeah. Who's asking? I'm Jessica's brother, I said, keeping my voice calm. His face froze for a split second before he forced a casual smile. Jessica? Yeah, I remember her. Is she okay? I leaned in closer. You took thousands of dollars from her while she lied to our family. Then you ghosted her. You really think I'd let that go? Jason stepped back, his smile fading. Hey man, I didn't take anything. She gave me the money. I didn't force her. Save it, I snapped. You knew exactly what you were doing. You saw someone vulnerable and you took advantage of her. By now a few people nearby were watching, but I didn't care. I'm not here to make a scene, I said, lowering my voice. I just want what you owe her. You've got two choices: pay me back, or I'll report you to the police for fraud. Your choice. Jason scoffed, but I could see the cracks in his confidence. You have no proof, man. Oh, I have plenty, I lied. Screenshots, texts, everything. I'm sure your boss would love to hear how you scammed women out of their money. Or maybe the cops would like to pay you a visit instead? He stared at me for a long moment, weighing his options. Finally he sighed and muttered, Fine. I don't have all of it, but I can give you some. How much? 8,000. That's all I have right now. It wasn't the full amount, but it was better than nothing. I had him wire me the money on the spot, then told him I'd be back in a month to check on the rest. When I got home, I told Jessica what had happened. She was shocked, but I could see a mixture of relief and shame in her expression. You got some of it back? She asked. Yes, I said. But don't think that lets you off the hook. You'll still have to pay me back for the rest. Jessica nodded. I understand. And thank you for standing up for me. It was the first time I'd seen real growth in her. For the first time, I felt like maybe she'd learned something from all of this. As for Jason, I don't know if he ever paid back the rest. He quit his job at the bar a few weeks later and disappeared. But it didn't matter. Jessica kept working, paying off her debt bit by bit, and for once in her life, she took responsibility. It wasn't the way I wanted to teach her a lesson, but in the end, I think it worked.